Call the morning meeting to order at 7:03. President is Tony Duffy, Dan Sherman, and Greg Smith is the chair. Listen to our employee first, whatever he has.
Well, to start off, the sewer plants, fuel fund needs to be replenished. Where they've been down there, and they've been running all the pumps and all the stuff, the construction down there, the fuel fund is empty.
All right. Corey, put that in finance.
We started using the tanks back here, instead of him filling up his bulk tank at Speedway, we got operating diesel,
Okay.
and it's 90 cents cheaper a gallon.
Is that all right with everybody to refer that to finance?
It'd be roughly 5K.
Where are you getting fuel from? Fuel from?
More if ever.
Are we doing all the pumping for them, or do they do their own pumping too?
They're out pumping too.
Or,
For the guys down sewer flat.
well, no.
They do their own pumping. We got meters on all the tanks. And, there's paper back there. We've changed all the trucks over and we run like a FEMA number on them. So all the vehicles, all the equipment, everything's got its own number. So now on these new lists, they just put in the number of whatever the fuel goes in, so we can break it up. Like, when I go through them, I can tell which department's getting what, so when we order fuel, we get a complete breakdown of how much each.
Well, you're not paying, that's pretty good hefty tax, like 66 cents or something.
Yeah, the difference on the fuel going to the off-road, 90 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
So he's completely out. I had to order fuel because they're going through an abundance of it down there right now, trying to keep the pumps and generators running. So we need to get some more in there. Scott and myself were talking about the ordinances for the fees on everything. The sewer tap, 3/4 inch water tap. 3/4 inch water tap right now is $1,800 and a 1 inch is $3,200. We would like to raise the 3/4 inch to $3,000. And we had talked about it yesterday when Michael Best was with us from Stantec, and he said that's a going rate in other communities. And our street bond's $2,000. I'm sure you all know about the trench we had across Columbus Street.
Yeah, I called about it.
But we got through in there. Actually, it was CDF yesterday, Blacktop today. We've got about $1,000 in it, just with the CDF, the asphalt, the man hours, and the equipment. The street bond's $2,000. We would like to raise that to $3,000.
I got a question about that.
Yes, sir.
Did we make that tap or did somebody else?
Which that?
In the middle, was that a sewer tap or a water tap?
That was a blown water line. Water service. It wasn't a new tap.
See, I haven't, some cities will just go do the tap, whether it's sewer or whatever, and charge actual cost. And that includes putting the street back.
That was no cost to the customer, on Columbus Street.
Well, okay, but I meant, if somebody gets a tap, there's a lot of cities that will just go do the tap, and you put a certain bond down, like that anticipated what it's gonna cost, and then you get charged actual cost for making the tap. And that way, their streets are guaranteed to get fixed because they're doing it themselves.
And I'm good with that too, but it was, we'd have stuff charged more, added more than 2,000 on, because if we happen to be in a brick road, the brick's gonna be.
I'm just saying, that's why a lot of municipalities, they just charge the actual cost to make the tap.
After you're done with the road.
Yeah, they put a certain bond up, say they put a $5,000 bond up, and then your actual charges to go against that bond, including your tap. So,
And that would work too.
that way you don't have all these places where the street gets tore up and then they walk off the bond.
That would work if we could bump it up to $6,000 to include the tap and the road. We take out whatever it actually costs and then they get a refund.
I forget what I paid in Lancaster, but I did, when we did the auditor's office up there, we put in a new water line.
Please talk to the mic, sir, they can't hear us.
Lord. So what we did was, the city in Lancaster actually did the tap. They cut it up. Now I had to run the line to them, but they actually made the tap. They did the tap into the water main and then fixed the road. And we of course we paid for all that, but you know, if we're going to do that, then you don't really need a deposit because you guys are the ones that are doing it.
Right.
Well, you need the deposit to make sure that you get paid in the end.
Oh, you pay up front.
That's what I'm saying. You put a certain charge up front.
Right, there was no bond. I mean, we know how.
I'm not talking about a bond, I'm talking about a deposit. You put a certain deposit up front, and then whatever your actual charges are comes off your deposit.
Well, if that was the case, I would say do a $6,000 deposit. If we can raise the tap up for a water line to 3,000, but since our 1 inch is already 3,200, there's not a lot of difference between what you do, what's involved, and then that would cover the road too. Because you can't, the roads are going to be different depending on where you're at. If you're on Columbus Street, it's going to be one thing. If you're on Jefferson Street, it's going to be more
It's actual
expensive.
cost, whatever cost you did to fix the street.
I got a question. Are you tearing up the road though? Because I had a couple of taps put in and they were actually in the right of way. They weren't in the,
Yeah,
You probably had a short side service.
depends on where the main is.
it was, yeah, it was on the other side.
You had a short side service. That means the service is on the same side
Oh, correct.
as the house.
I see.
This one that was repaired was a long side service,
Okay.
so it had to be dug across the road.
Well, one thing about water taps is that part of that is anticipating that you're gonna have some cost involved, like your pit, your meter. I'm saying whatever the actual cost to do that job.
Yeah, I can go through and
Yeah, and we can actually come up with standards. You put up a deposit, the city will make the tap, make sure it's completed, and then all the actual costs, like your pit, your meter, the time to do that, the equipment involved, just like a construction company would do you.
yeah, and that's why I can go through and get all the costs together for that.
And I think that's the fairest way, and then everything gets repaired and doesn't end up being, are we good with having him come up with costs on that? We'll meet in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, cause you know, he can do the cost on it and then you tell the client it's gonna be this much money.
We'll just have to figure out.
And then they pay before you even do the work.
Well, whatever the circumstances is, to have a tap made at that place, you give them their cost estimate and, yeah.
So I just want to confirm, you're wanting to do away with our standard charges that we have for taps now. So we do away with the $3,200 1-inch tap and do away with the $1,800 3/4 inch tap. And then it would just be whatever the cost is.
Yeah, actual cost to do the whole job and
But
do
we'd
it,
have to do it.
but we would have to do it, and our employee, and we would charge for our equipment, we would charge for, make everything, and a fair charge.
Absolutely.
We're not making money on the tap, we're just, what it cost us is what you're gonna pay. And if it's in a different place, and then some taps are more difficult than others, you bought the place there, I mean.
So figuring that out, would you want to figure in like street plate rentals because plates are on the road for 2 days.
Yeah, you got everything that it takes to do it should be included in the,
Backfill, CDF, all.
yeah.
Okay. So we're just gonna do away with the flat rates and we're just gonna go straight to bids, estimate bids, and then,
Yeah, we're gonna be doing it ourselves.
correct.
So
then we need to get a word-
Done right, we know that the streets are repaired right.
We know the sewer, here's the other part that happens with that. When we don't, we're not in charge of taps, the taps don't get made right. We got taps all over Nelsonville where someone took a hammer and knocked a hole in a sewer line and now we got I through that like you won't believe.
Yes, sir.
So my thought is that we're gonna fix that and we're gonna do it right. And when it's done, everything's gonna be put back, just like Columbia Gas, when they do a tap, everything's back right. And hopefully we won't have citizens calling and saying, hey, they left a hole here on. So I just think,
Well, again, we should be doing the sewer taps then too,
right,
right for it all.
Jason,
right, at actual cost, whatever it costs, whatever it costs, that's what your sewer tap, and your water tap will be for whatever the supplies are. Equipment and everything. I mean, you gotta run a backhoe, whatever is the fair charge to run a backhoe is.
I have a question. The 1-inch lines, are those commercial lines then, or?
Yeah, most of the commercial lines are at least an inch and a quarter.
Okay, so then the inch, so those are just residences.
I think mine's 1.25 inches down the car wash.
Yeah, just depending. I mean, there's so much different stuff around Nelsonville. You find something different every time you dig a hole.
That's what the requirements are for volume.
That really should include all your meter reading. In other words, that should include your auto reading equipment for water.
Right.
That,
When you put a new tap,
yeah.
Yeah, we'll wrap it all up in there. I think I have a really good handle on what you're saying. So basically we would amend the old ordinance or make a new ordinance and just kind of take all that off and then.
And we're gonna give you an estimate, you pay your estimate, and then it'll go against taxable charges.
when we show up and we walk up, if we was gonna do it, everything from the time we start to the time we finish, what it costs.
Including fixing the street.
Yeah, from start to finish, everything from beginning to end.
And I think that's fair to property owners.
Contractors call that turnkey.
Right.
Well,
So, also, y'all noticed that I give you some papers from Stantec on the GIS system. I really think it's beneficial to Nelsonville to get a GIS system. And it's not gonna be anything that's gonna help right now, but down the road, eventually. There's no as-built maps for Nelsonville for anything, no water, sewer, nothing. This, as things are dug up, we can hit it with the GIS and start making a map. There's some pictures enclosed. They're from the city of Logan.
Hey, Jason, do you mind explaining to everybody at home exactly, not too in depth, but what GIS is and why we need to do it?
GIS is GPS. We can GPS anything on the spot. It can be within a foot. Puts it pretty much spot on. It can be used for fire hydrants, water lines, sewer lines, valves.
it's the same way your directions work on Google.
Yes.
Your phone shoots a GIS point, translates that into your directions on your phone. We
And
started doing that like 10 years ago, and I don't know what happened to it.
yeah, and nobody really knows. They say Hocking College has got some of the stuff, but we don't have our own GIS. If we had our
What's the
own,
software cost?
Why he's looking for that, it's an EPA requirement. And then just to refresh your memory, we got the asset list from IBI. They turned that into us the other day, from 2 years ago that you guys had them, go out and do the bare minimum to meet the EPA requirements. So we have everything that they've provided to us. We're able to, aside from the actual device he's talking about, marking more assets as we find them, we'll be able to put what IBI gave us into the software that we're already using for code and work orders and POs and fleet management. And then as these guys go out and do annual maintenance, exercise and valves and such, they'll be able to track all that in there. And then anytime EPA asks for it, we'll be able to print it out and provide it right there on the spot.
That's what the first picture is. It shows all the valves that have been worked.
I'm just trying to get something for the finance committee. What money do we need to start with?
Yeah, there's a lot of dollar amounts on this sheet.
Yeah, that's all the different things to get started. About 23,000. So, which brings me to my.
We already have the software. We don't need to buy software.
No, we need the software as well. There'd be another 4,000 on the software side of the house.
You talked to 23 plus 4, 27.
Yes, sir. And that gives us two capability. He'll have the capability to mark, and then we'll have a system that tracks everything live.
Hey, anytime something's dug up, anytime if our guys get something out.
What's percentage of water to sewer on digging stuff up?
Percentage of water to sewer,
How much more water stuff do you dig up than sewer?
that's like 60/40.
All right, so you need $28,000. And so let's say that we appropriate 60 or 60% of that from water.
But it looks like there's some costs maybe ongoing even.
Yeah.
So there's probably a licensing agreement, isn't there? For that
Yeah.
software? I love the whole idea about the GPS, and I also a big fan of cameras for that shop vac truck we got. That'll save us money. That will save us
The
money.
GPS is gonna help all of us in this room. Nelsonville, I mean, it's more of a lifespan thing for Nelsonville than it is in the.
It'll save you on overtime too when you're hunting that leak that they ain't bubbling up out of it.
Absolutely.
When you're hunting that leak that's not bubbling up out of and you gotta find that line.
Right. And right now, unfortunately, our only way of living any kind of lines is with Woodson sticks, which is extremely
Unreliable.
unreliable and out of date.
And it might be just good luck.
Yeah, and the thing with this system is the guys can pull it up on their phone if need be. So if they're out somewhere, there's a couple spots in town where there's a lot of valves.
So would 28,000 do it for this year?
Yeah.
So that'd be 16,800 out of water and 11,200 out of sewer. You good with that, Tony?
I'm good with that.
Dan?
Yeah, I'm gonna send it over to Pioneer.
I had an idea where to come up with the money for most of it. We
Just did.
We just did.
Well, I understand that, but,
We're good.
We're good.
well, we also, I got bids, a couple bids, just had a couple guys look at the river board instead of boarding it, putting it back in, laying it back in the river, digging back the banks. And that's coming in about half the cost of what it was, the original bid to board.
Mhm.
And that's a 10-inch line, 10-inch Certa-Lock inside a 16-inch casing. And the casing will expand 15 feet out both sides of the river. So it goes in the bank and will protect the pipe, which will outlast all of us all.
How big a backflow do we have? Like, this is a different subject. How deep, how big will it, how deep will it dig?
And just to touch base, I talked to the Corps of Engineers about our permit that we had to do the bore. So I do have to resubmit our plan to go above. There might be a little bit of cost associated with that. We've already got it in the appropriations. So we don't need anything. I was just letting you know. And I'll get that fired off to them tomorrow or Monday. So we can start with that.
New permit fee.
Yes, sir. And permit fee, a muscle study, and another study. I don't remember the name of
There's
it.
muscles there. I used to get them as a kid.
I want to point you to the thing about, there's one thing that we always kind of forget about as is a city is, the reason I asked about that backhoe is because, a good backhoe for an average is, $70,000 new. That's an average for a decent one. And the one thing that has a ton of hours is that backhoe. So when you're doing your estimates in your head, like Greg said, you need to figure out what a backhoe rents for a day. Just so that you can put money back
Right.
because of equipment repair. The more you use it, the more it's going to break down. And I know it's not that old, but when I see it going down the road and the tires are wore out of the middle of it, which I know they're not made to be run on pavement, but it's got some hours on.
There's a lot of things, because we signed up for a class in September. It's a grant writing class.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would like to try to get some grants to buy some more equipment. It would be nice if we was able to get on our front end loader with the mill for the front of it. And we could start doing, for what it costs to have a company come in and say, I don't know, let's say Columbus Street, if they were coming in redoing it, for what it costs for them to come in and mill it and pave it, if we had our own way to mill and prep the road, we could get 2 roads done for the same price of doing one.
Not to mention, we've already did them so many times, we gotta have,
Going to have to mill them down.
Right.
I mean, let me tell you something, the curbs are disappearing.
But it makes more sense. I know Logan just got done.
Which I have never complained about Pine Grove because it's nice that it's done. But the water runs through my yard now and does a creek.
Would you
Mine too.
like potholes back?
Well, if it would have gotten milled down
yeah, but
like it was supposed to, then all right.
we only had
I know.
7,000.
I understand that now. Trust me. I didn't understand that before, but I understand that now. And I'm glad it all got paved. At the same time, it created runoffs and it created a lot of different things.
Yeah, I think those potholes were soaking up a lot of that.
Those weren't potholes, those were craters.
They were. You could not drive down that road without.
I tried.
I've been looking at some other things, also like alleys. We do chip and seal
Yep.
in alleys.
Yeah.
Because
That'll work in
they're
alleys.
destroyed now as it is from the trash trucks.
Yeah, I mean, those old brick alleys are just,
Well, that's what, the trash truck thing. You need to get me a list of what alleys you don't want them in. 'Cause
absolutely.
that needs to go into the trash contract. We'll work on the trash contract. What I was gonna suggest on that you get us, all of us, a copy, electronic copy of the contract. And then we've already decided we're gonna deal with this thing out here.
Mhm.
But rest of us need to go through the contract and say what we want changed in it. One of the things we need to put in it is certain alleys or streets that they
Can't
have
go
to
on.
avoid.
Yeah.
And the streets destroyed.
Yeah, and so, I mean, and look at Mill Street, look at
Well,
what's
if they
happening
have,
there.
if they have to park on Jefferson and walk up ME, there's gonna be more cost involved in the contract. But that's fine, as long as we put it in the contract and they know that when they bid. We can't put a contract out without that in it and then say, oh, by the way, will you walk up Mill Street and get the trash container?
I honestly believe that in the future, it would be beneficial to sort of like Lancaster does, and they just have a utility, because then at that point, you can control the.
I can guarantee you that Rumpke does not pay any employee insurance at $28,000 an employee. There's no way that you'll make it cost effective.
That way you can control.
We can control it with the contract by telling them they can't be on them streets.
Right, but when we gotta get back every couple of years and completely redo alleys and roads because they destroyed them, that's not how effective in Nelsonville.
Well, we can tell them to stay off of them.
Or tell them to start bringing small. trucks.
Right. We can do.
We did that for a while, if you noticed, I saw that little Rumpke,
That's things that need to be in the new
and then it's
contract.
They
disappeared.
need to be small trucks.
You know that?
You're gonna be
Remember the
buying
Rumpke
X
truck,
amount of dollars.
the,
If
The Chevy with the.
Tell them that we're gonna rebid their
Metal
contract if they get in there with a big
Yeah.
truck.
We already
And it
did
was
that.
around town and it just
Disappeared.
They're bringing those huge trucks in and they're just destroying.
that alley between Chestnut and Jefferson and Grosvenor, that's atrocious.
Anyway, we need to work on the places we don't want them with any truck and places where we want them with a small truck.
Sounds good. Get that, you guys get that list to us, then we can go forward from there.
And the other question I had, is it possible we could move that stuff somewhere on the back lot?
I think, are we gonna keep it?
I'd say get rid of it because people just don't respect it. They throw trash in there.
Yeah.
I watched them, I said, I was in a meeting one night, and those things were jam packed full. And I watched somebody dump stuff on top, and it's kind of like,
Well, we originally had decided that we were gonna require them to empty them 3 times a week.
but they're still getting garbage from them.
So, yeah, I saw boxes blown
Oh,
out
we-
here on the.
If it was emptied more, there's part of that would take care of it if it was emptied.
And the other thing is to put the camera on it and signage up saying, and pass an ordinance, making it a fine if you do put
How
that.
you gonna catch that person?
There are a couple of their dumpsters actually have signs on the side of
They
what
do.
you're allowed to put in there and what you're not allowed to put in there.
Well, then we need an ordinance and the camera.
Or we just get rid of them and require them to go to the curbside.
You're gonna require them to either pay an extra $3 or $4 or $5 and,
Just get rid of them, and whoever wants to recycle can pay for the recycling.
I'm fine with that, as long as we're not requiring people to do recycling.
Can't be I don't think it could be mandatory.
Oh, it can, there's cities that do it, but I'm not.
You know, there's some people that already pay for the recycling, so, you
I
know,
pay for mine.
yes, I mean, it's $1 or $2.
It's $3 a month.
That's pretty big for you.
And I actually, to be honest, I put one bag, with a family of 4, we put out 1 bag of trash a week. And I put out more than a 65-gallon tub of recycling each week. We recycle a ton, boxes, cans, bottles.
I know, I go by some of these places, they got like 15 bags, I'm like, how do you generate that? much
I was doing some good
Come to my
recycling.
house.
I was doing some good recycling for Tony,
Look at the zoo.
moving dump trucks.
Yeah, the little kids kicked in the windshield. They were 8 years old.
What we got next there, bud?
Okay, what's next? You got anything else there?
All right, we're gonna,
Just,
Well, let's talk about this trash contract now. Right?
Oh, here we go. Well, we're gonna get a list, number 1, from those.
Well, yeah, so, but it's gonna be bid out, so.
Yeah,
yeah, we gotta get the contract right before we bid it out. The biggest thing that has happened in the past, as is with the trucks and the alleys, we put the contract out, they bid on it, then we're going, oh, we would like you to stay out of the alleys, and they're going, well, that's cost us money.
yeah, too late.
Yeah, so we gotta get all that in the contract,
And then get another.
and I'm fine with doing away with that recycling thing if, you know, everybody that wants to recycle can just sign up for recycling, we put that in the contract.
I believe that's how it is now. Right now, there's no requirement to recycle, and anybody that wants curbside can sign up for it and get it extra.
I think that's, I'm fine with that. Are you fine with that, Dan?
Oh, yeah, because, you know, they just overflow. I don't care how many times they empty, they just overflow. And like I said, you got boxes that are down here by the river.
Mm.
And we get a lot of out-of-town folks, actually, that bring the recycling through and drop it off as well.
That's interesting.
Yes. Because it's not offered whoever their service provider is.
So they have two, right now, currently Rumpke has 2 different things. You can get the 65-gallon roll-off, or you can get the little,
Mhm. It's the same price for either one of them.
same price.
Mhm.
And then why don't we just require the roll-off? That way it ain't gonna be going all over the place.
I mean, it's,
Is that, you know, if it's the same price for the,
I'm not tracking right now what you guys are talking about.
it's,
Roll off.
there's 2 different containers you can get for recycling. One's a 65-gallon roll-off, it's got a lid on it. And the other one
It's a tote.
And the other one is little tubs that you
Yeah.
can.
well, actually, let me think about that. So at my house, I pay $3 a month for it. I think actually I might be paying $5 at the rentals because it's a $2 fee, like a $2 rental fee for the cart. But you actually do not need to rent the roll-off. You can use a regular trash can for recycling and take it out. You
All
don't
right,
need to
let's
rent
discuss
it.
that at the next meeting after we get everything.
Like, I don't need to rent their little tote either. I can just put it out in the trash can. I usually have so much over that tote that I fill up another trash can.
I think we're gonna do it curbside. I'm thinking that the 65-gallon roll-off would be the way to go because that keeps it from blowing all over the neighborhood.
I'll get a list of all available services and fees from Rumpke.
Yeah, those things are just got to go. They're an eyesore, look like crap.
So we'll have a meeting in a couple weeks, and if we can get all this together, we'll get Gary writing the contract up, and then we'll put the contract out to bid starting for whenever Rockies, I think it's like March the 1st, maybe.
Yeah, but you need to start fitting it out though before that.
All right, we got to get the law director to draw the contract up, so.
And I've definitely had other providers as well ask for the opportunity to come talk to us, and compare
More the merrier.
tomato to tomato.
Well, in that light, if any of the contractors want to come to the committee meeting, we'll let them in and we'll make arrangements for them. Any of them that's interested and wants to comment on the contract or whatever, we'll allow them into our meeting. We'll keep social distancing.
Apples to apples, oranges to oranges.
Sounds great.
Not tomatoes.
So is there anything else?
I do actually. So we met with Stantec the other day, wrapping up part of the sewer install over in Bookville Carbon Hill area. And one of the last steps over there is going to be installing roughly a dozen grinder pumps on individual houses. So there's several houses over there that need to connect into the sewer, and they'll either be gravity or grinder pump. So what Stantec or what the contractor's already done, they've installed the tank where the grinder pump goes, and they've already connected that tank into the main. What the resident's going to be responsible for is plumbing their house into the tank, and then also running the electric from their panel to where the grinder pump's going to be. The city's going to be responsible for the grinder pump and maintenance and everything else. The residents just going to have the electric fee, which is, I believe Michael Betts told me, about $2 a month at the most. The concern is some folks want to do it themselves, and of course some other
I'm
folks.
going to get one of our workers electrocuted.
Right. So what we talked about and what I would propose is that we set a fee. So I've already talked to a local electrician / plumber. We all know him, probably over in Bookville. And we're going to set up a meeting with him to see how much it would cost. But there would be an inspection fee. So part of the inspection fee is verifying the electric is done correctly. And then the other part is there's a pressure test required in accordance with the specs of the contractor. I think it's 3 PSI for 2 minutes or something like that. And so non-grinder pump, the gravity ones, they also require the air pressure check. So what we're going to propose is an inspection fee by the city, and that would basically, we subcontract that out to go out on behalf of the city and go make sure the electric is done correctly and make sure that the pressure checks are completed to make sure everybody installed their stuff correctly. Because if they get the connection in the wrong place coming into the tank, it'll screw up the entire operation, is how they explained it to me. So,
Are these Nelsonville residents?
do you remember where they're at, Jason?
I'm
I can confirm. They're out there in the borderline. I'm not sure exactly.
When we originally done this, the Hockin County was supposed to be responsible for Hockin County residents, and we were supposed to be responsible for the health.
Hocking County picks up on Carbon Hill Bookville Road.
Right, these are all inside.
These are on 78 and Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're written up there in the city then. They are.
City or Bookville, either way.
So and this is a one-time fee and inspection that they would require.
Correct. So this would be, yeah, absolutely. It would be a one-time deal to make sure that they get the wires done correctly. Because, the worst case is, if we don't have the inspection done one of our guys does get electrocuted, that's obviously worst case.
I would rather that we come up with a charge for installing it and do it.
Well, if,
And then have it inspected after we done it, but I mean, that's up to you, I mean.
Just licensed electrician. Just make sure it's done right.
I know several folks, or not several, but one in particular family, has already got all the specs from the contractor and have already started wiring up their own stuff. And I would just want to verify that it was done correctly so we don't burn up the pump and then, or hurt somebody. And then that's also something too, just to be in the back of your minds that we own those pumps and they're only good for average is 5 years. And then they can last up to 10 years, but it's going to be maintenance required by the city. And then if they go bad, the city will be responsible for switching out the pumps.
How much are those pumps?
7, or was that? I don't have the exact amount.
So about 7,000 now.
Roughly.
Make sure there's a service disconnect at the pump.
And
The
if-
pumps
if
are
they're-
very.
If they're flushing things, yeah, it'll fall up in that, and they'll have to call, we'll have to come clean them. So there's chances multiple times we'll be over there cleaning.
Well, yeah, so if we start finding stuff like that, then we can certainly start saying, listen, please don't flush these things, and if you do, we're gonna have to charge you for a fee.
Yeah, do we need an ordinance though, stating potential penalties or fines for flushing things that they're not supposed to be?
I would like to. So there's a bigger picture to that. We have one particular customer now that's considered an industrial user. And it's my understanding that the subject has been approached before, and that is the jail. And my understanding is the jail has bars in place up there to catch debris, which is the same thing we're talking about with grinder pumps, just on a much bigger scale up there. My understanding is they have toilets that will flush anything, to include full-on sheets, because it's backed up down here next to Crossroads, Gomart. And so that's actually something Phil brought to my attention a couple weeks ago, and we're starting to get a game plan together. But that ordinance might be too full to help with that situation, because essentially right now they pulled out those bars, to my latest understanding, and all their debris is coming downstream. Particularly the pump that's right behind you folks, about 50 yards, has burned up several pumps, and it was actually changed out with a muffin grinder, I believe is the proper term. And so all that does is chop up the debris to smaller, but then it goes downstream to the
You
plant.
need an ordinance that you can't only have such as, I've seen ordinances to that effect in different municipalities. We need an ordinance that particularly has to be under a certain size.
Absolutely. And the EPA actually already defines it. So for example, in the jail scenario, the EPA has already defined all that. It's just not being followed. And it's hurting us. So if I tie all that into the current construction situation that we have, the pump that I've talked about a couple times in the very basement of the sewage plant, that pump is very old, and they had to pull it apart again today, because anytime a chunk of debris or a rag of a certain size gets in there, it takes the gallonage flow from roughly 400 GPMs down to about 80 or 90, which then backs up the contractor, which then we get charged for delays. So also, that is also tied to the amount of fuel that we're using down there for all the extra pumping, because we're supplementing electric pump, diesel pump, in addition to that pump in the basement, just to keep the levels low enough, safe enough for the contractor to get in there and put the new line in. So it's really all tied together, and I would like to look at an ordinance in the future and talk about that, what that looks like for grinder pumps.
I thought we already warned the jail they were gonna comply and take care of that. So if they're still, it's costing us money, then we need to pass that on to them.
It's gonna be hard without it being in the sewer regulation.
With them, they have EPA guidelines to follow.
Well, we also might have had a contract with them if we go back and pull the contract when we provided them service. I don't know if we was that forward thinking back then or not, but if they put the bars in at that time, they probably was considering, We need to rework the sewer plan to put that in,
Good, thanks.
but not only for the ground your pumps, but for everybody.
Absolutely. So I'm just in the starting the investigation phase, if you will, for the jail. And once I get more information together, I'll report back what we find, and then definitely some recommendations for an ordinance going forward.
Awesome. Sounds good.
And then by the next meeting, I will also talk to that contractor to get a rough idea what he's going to charge us to do the inside inspection, outside inspection of the electric, the pressure check, and then we'll wrap all that up, what that should be, and then we can come back and propose to you folks that an inspection is required when you hook into it. Here's the fee if you have a grinder pump. Here's the fee if you don't have a grinder
The
pump.
biggest thing is that we need to, regardless of who you pay for it, you need a regulation that says that they have to allow you to inspect. Because
Yep.
you're on private property, and what do you happen, like if you walk up, they say, hey, get off my property.
You're 100% correct.
Then do you have the right to deny them service because they won't allow you inspection? So you have to write the sewer and water regulations. So if they don't allow you to inspect, well, then you don't have to provide them service. So.
Roger that. We have a couple cities already that our contractors provided us with similar ordinances to propose to you folks. We just wanted to get our ducks in a better row before we bring it all forward.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
And then the last thing, back to the front loader thing Jason brought up. I was also, the guys out there in the street department asked for that because the way we load salt now is the backhoes, and the salt destroys the radiators in the front of those things. So we chew up radiators really fast, and those, by the way, they're designed. That's all.
Okay. All right.
Anybody else?
We're done.
Good. Meeting adjourned.